Tensions in the Middle East have reached a boiling point following the killing of a towering figure in the Islamic world, the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I'm talking about Ali Khamenei. He died in a joint Israel-US airstrike on Tehran just yesterday. The United States and Israel say the ongoing strikes are intended to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, destroy its long-range missiles and military capabilities, as well as stop its support for what they termed as militant support for places like in Hezbollah, and to ensure regional stability and the security of Israel and U.S. interests in the region. But how did Iran get to this boiling point in its history? Well, JoyNews research has been digging deeper, and that will put that on the screen for you now to, really appreciate what the situation is. And you see Iran in early 20th century and oil concession. Now, we understand that Britain gained control of Iran's oil through the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. Many Iranians saw that as exploitation. Now, this is the man in your picture, Prime Minister Mohammed Mossadegh. He nationalized the oil in 1951, and in 1953, a U.S. and UK-backed, coup actually removed him and restored the Shah's full power, and that happened in that year. And so, if you look at the year 1951 to 1953, then came 1978. to 79, and you see this man in your picture. He actually forced the Shah to flee due to some protests in Iran. His name is Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. He returned from exile and created what we now know as Islamic Republic of Iran. That happened between 1978 to 1979. Now, Islamic Republic and its theocracy, you see what we have on the screen. Since 1979 to 1989, Iran became a clerical state, and you see the war with Iraq strengthened the regime and deepened anti-Western sentiment. Let's go on to see after that period. Now, Ali Khamenei appeared on the scene in 1989 to just yesterday, 2026, after Ayatollah Ali Khamenei died. He became the supreme leader, the man in your picture. Iran's expanded regional influence while facing sanctions and nuclear tensions. So this is the man that actually made Iran, grow in terms of expanding its, nuclear capabilities. But the question is, why should we be concerned in Ghana, you may ask? Well, here's why. Because Iran holds the third largest proven oil revenue or reserve in the world, with an estimated 208 billion barrels of crude oil. Additionally, Iran exerts significant control over the strategic Strait of Hormuz, through which holds about 20% of the world's oil and gas export pass-through. Here's what the oil trade in that region actually looks like. And if you can see this, of course, here is Africa and here is the Middle East. And this is the Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz we are talking about in the United Arab Emirates. Now, let's look at it carefully. You'll find Kuwait in this area. They also produce some kind of oil, and this is Iran. And you have Saudi Arabia right here, as well as Oman and United Arab Emirates here. Now, all of these countries produce some form of oil, and this is the channel they use actually to export the oil to other countries. And so Iran currently holds a strategic control of this particular space you see here. And as we speak, a number of vessels are stranded because Iran, due to the war, have blocked this space, making it difficult for vessels or oil tankers to move along the strait. What it means is that countries like Kuwait are not going to be able to have their oil pass through this region to places like, India, China, and co. And then, of course, Oman and United Arab Emirates will also not have their vessels pass through this particular strategic point. That is the power that Iran currently holds as we speak. Well, the big question on the probe is, does this war pose a real threat to Ghana's energy security? What ripple effect would this war actually have on the wider economy if oil prices surge and the conflict persists? To help probe these concerns, we have Collins Adomako Mensah. He is a former Deputy Minister of Energy and now the Deputy Ranking Member on the Energy Committee of Parliament. He joins us on Zoom. Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Company, Riverson Opon, is also with us tonight. Abraham Abbas Tasunti is the Director of Economic Regulation and Planning at the National Petroleum Authority. And of course, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, Duncan Amwa, is also with us. This is The Probe, and of course, this broadcast is live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 125. On radio, you are listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and more than 30 affiliates across the country. On socials, we are on JoyNews on TV, and around the world, of course, you can catch us on myjoyonline.com. My name is Carlos Calony. We'll jump straight into the conversation shortly when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back, and of course, thank you so much for staying with us here on JoyNews as well as Joy 99.7 FM, and we are discussing energy security concerning the situation in the Middle East. You know that Iran is under heavy bombardment as we speak from Israel and the U.S. jointly, and we've been told that the supreme leader of that country has been killed. He died yesterday. But there are implications for Ghana. Ghana may be thousands of miles away from Iran or from the Middle East. But of course, because we depend on oil from the region, we should be concerned. And so, reason why we have assembled all the energy experts and the players and regulators in the sector to tell us how this is likely to shake the country's energy security. And so, let me go straight to Abbas, who is with the NPA, to really share with us. Grateful for your time here. What are Ghana's current stock levels as we speak, and how long can those stock levels sustain us if the war continues?
All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you may have to speak up for us to hear you.
Okay. All right. I'll do my best. So definitely with such a war happening and the impact it has on the global oil market, consumers and all stakeholders will be concerned about whether Ghana will be affected. As we've said, Ghana will definitely be affected, just like any other country in the world. So the focus will be what plans we have in place to ensure that consumers do not lack fuel for the economy to run. So as you asked, what is Ghana's current stock level of petroleum products? As of last Friday, we have diesel stocks to last us over 5 weeks. Estimated roughly, it will last us up to 5.3 weeks. And then for petrol, we have almost 7 weeks, 6.8 weeks to last. And this is something that we monitor all the time. If you know that for a country like Ghana, which is a net importer, even without this war, we always ensure that we have a plan to make petroleum products available for consumers in the country. And so this is not something that is being done because of the war, but it's something we do on the regular. It's one of NPA's major mandates to ensure that petroleum products are always available. So as of Friday, like you've said, the last monitoring that we did, petrol again will last us up to almost 7 weeks, 6.8 weeks, and diesel will last us about 5.3 weeks. But just to add that this does not mean that we don't have imports coming in. We discharge petroleum products almost every day in this country. So we have a plan where almost every day discharge of petroleum products have been done. That is for the imported products. And we also have the Central Oil Refinery, which is consistently producing. It has been doing so since June last year, June 2025. And as we speak, they are producing on a daily basis and putting petroleum products on the market. The Atuabo gas processing plant is also producing and putting LPG on the market. So in terms of stocks, whilst we consume what is in tank, we have a plan of import, for import as well. We have about 4 vessels at the anchorage as we speak in Tema, which are waiting to discharge 2 cargoes for diesel and 2 cargoes for petrol, and other imports are also scheduled to come in. So for now, to answer your question directly, we have products to last the country for almost 6 and 7 weeks for petrol and diesel and petrol respectively.
And you touch on local production. We need some clarity there. Is that part of the weeks you've outlined, or these are imports?
So the stocks I mentioned includes both local production and imports. So these are stocks in tank. But like I mentioned, for local production, it happens on a daily basis. So every day they are producing, it comes to add to the stocks we have.
Now, what volumes do we get from the Middle East, to be specific, so we understand if this war, in the unlikely event that it extends to a month or beyond, so we know how much of oil we're going to be losing from that region, especially now that that channel has been closed?
So to be specific, Ghana, as a West African country, we do not import petroleum products always directly from the Middle East. And let me be specific, Iran in particular is not a source of petroleum products directly to Ghana. However, it's a global market. We are in a global village, and therefore, whatever happens there will definitely affect us, like I said. So our focus here is, like you mentioned, the Strait of Hormuz is a key shipping line. And the impact that we are going to have is that immediately we are definitely going to see prices go up. The world is very well supplied with petroleum products. So immediately, the concern is not that there will be shortage of petroleum products in the world. The concern is about how freight is going to be impacted. As we speak, all the major shipping lines have stopped using the Strait of Hormuz, like you said, because of the threat that Iran has put on the strait, and apparently it's been blocked. So they are now using longer routes, using the Cape of Good Hope, and that makes their journeys very long. This means that shipping cost is going to rise, and so we are going to see an increase in prices. In fact, for the first 2 months of this year, crude oil prices jumped by about $10 per barrel because of the expectation that we are going to see this war happening. And so this risk premium has already been priced into oil prices. But now that it has happened, we are definitely going to see prices go up from tomorrow when the markets open again. So the issue here is how long this war is going to last and how long the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed. If that happens, it's going to affect oil flow. But what we have to also know is that the US and the IEA member countries have enough stocks to also release on the market. So the concern really is how long this war will stay and whether it will significantly affect the stocks that we have, the reserves that we have. But Ghana as a country does not directly import products from the Middle East. Middle East products may find their way to the Northwest Europe market that generally supplies West Africa, but we don't import directly from there. And that's why for us as a country, we are not so concerned about the fact that there will be shortage of products. The concern is that this is going to lead to an increase in prices.
Right. Stay with us. Let me go to Duncan Amwa. He is with COPEC. There's been some back and forth with regards to the current crude oil prices following the war that commenced yesterday. As we speak, what are the figures looking like and why?
Well, you see, the market normally would close on Friday, and then Monday you have a new market week. Most of the numbers you find, Bloomberg and other platforms, they quote in between 72, 75. In fact, there's a plus from 2.8 somewhere. However, other analysts are quite certain that you are looking at the $90 region in a few days, starting from tomorrow. This will be largely due to the fact that some tankers that probably had scheduled to go through the Hormuz clearly would not be able to use that. That would also affect how much premium even cargoes that you already have moving around would probably be looking at. And so, like the earlier speaker had indicated, about that you are looking at a very steep, price situation unfolding right from tomorrow. It could be anything 80, it could be 90. Some even are predicting it could hit the hundreds in no time. What you should be looking out for in Ghana is how much inventories you have and as to whether the local market players will be willing to sell cheaper, or they will be looking for something a little more so that they can be able to fund other cargoes that may come in subsequently. Those answers we will not have until tomorrow.
Yeah, there's been some indication that you gave some, prices in terms of the crude oil prices earlier, hitting over $100. And so where are we getting those figures from?
Well, like I indicated, I do monitor a lot of these international platforms. And most analysts are cautioning that you'll be doing above 90 by close of tomorrow. 100, we haven't discussed that yet, but most likely by close of trading tomorrow, the figures may not look as good, especially now that some 3 tankers have equally been blown off the Hormuz. Between the weekend and now, it is not likely any cargo at all whatsoever has been able to move. And like Abbas said, these are cargoes that would feed China, and would feed India, would feed other parts of Asia. Once these cargoes, about a fourth or 20% of global cargo supplies, do not move, what you are actually getting is a situation where the world would then be scrambling for the remaining 80 or 75% still floating. And that would mean that money would rather be chasing cargo, and people will be paying higher premiums for cargo that they probably a week ago would have paid something less for. So, like I indicated, the start of a trading week tomorrow would give us a fair idea whether we are doing the 70, 80, 90, as some analysts have already pointed to, around 90, 91. That's the expectation tomorrow, or by close of trading tomorrow. But if it doesn't, and it stays within the 75 region, that in itself would have amounted to almost 8 to 10% within a few days. That clearly would also be steep, even if it stayed within the $75 region, a barrel region.
NP is giving the indication that our stock levels now can take us some 7 weeks plus. Is that enough?
The truth of this is that I have said that you are dealing with private capital. The stocks you have now is not one that you can quantify as strategic stock or reserve that the state probably would have paid for, or the state would probably have total control of. These are stocks coming from BDCs and other traders. If I was a trader and I wake up tomorrow, right, to have to put stock on the market, I would definitely bear in mind the fact that these hostilities or tensions prevailing within the Middle East could affect the net cargo consignment that I get down here. Would that affect my pricing decision? The answer will be yes. And so clearly, though we have enough stock, like he said, we clearly are not out of stock. The control or the power of this stock rests with private capital, and private capital as to whether we'll be going for what you and I would expect. I think it will be a little higher than we originally had even projected. If you recall, the start of March, both COPEC and COMAC were quite certain that we're going to be doing about 1 to 3%, upwards on current pump prices. But with these developments over the weekend, it could be any number. I don't know if Abbas has got some definite.
It could be. Where are we likely to be headed?
Well, it could be plus of the 1 to 3% that had earlier been projected. Because, like I said, if I had cargo currently, and with the kind of developments I'm seeing, where even if you go to Bloomberg, the quotation they deliver now, they do 72.28 plus 2.8, right? So there's a plus there. It means that even for them that want to be conservative because of what numbers they had as of closing on Friday, they have even given you a certain class figure. I'll be surprised if the market decide to go for the 1 to 3% tomorrow. But, well, it's a competitive market. Anything is possible.
Okay.
So only tomorrow will tell us exactly what we're dealing with.
Duncan, stay with us. I'll come back to you. Let me bring in the Chief Executive Officer of the OMC's, Riverson Opon. How worried are the oil marketing companies, and how is this likely to actually impact your work and the energy sector generally?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I believe Abbas and Duncan have thrown more light into the impact of what is happening. And basically, looking at the role, the strength of Hormuz play in the global energy market. I mean, controls about 20% of the transportation throughput that we have in the country. There's something Abbas said that gives me a lot of comfort, and that's a fact. You know, today, U.S. is a net exporter of crude oil and crude oil product. Most of our product coming from Europe, and even those coming from the Dubai side will come from the north, the southern part. That would not necessarily need to go through the Strait of Hormuz. But if you listen to what Duncan said, which is also true, because certain part of the demand curve will be affected, it will bring hikes in prices. As of yesterday, price, of course, was not 90, as I've read. It was somewhere around $80 per barrel. However, depending on how long this war will be, we should expect 90 to 100 for sure, no doubt. That analysis is also being done today. And obviously, as oil marketing companies, what is very important for us, and always in alignment with the regulation, is to fuel availability, fuel accessibility, and fuel affordability. And unfortunately for us, this war affects all these three A's that we are talking about. You know, because we are talking about a country as Ghana, which is a net importer of fuel, that is in the mercies of international prices, mostly because we do not have any control over how the international benchmark prices are done. Thanks be to God, our city is stable, and like Duncan said, the projections we made for the window we have today is already going to be enacted, because we just finished a pricing window. So we are now in a selling window. That also makes me affirm the fact that, yes, we normally will operate with a throughput system. Whatever the market price, whatever the market will price is what we will surely transfer to the consumer. And that's where myself and Duncan always have arguments and fight all the time. But I believe that this is not good for a country that is a hugely net importer of almost 80%. Abbas can correct me if I'm wrong. I think almost more than 60% of our products, if not 80%, is being imported. But like I said, let me end by saying that even though we have enough stock, no doubt, we should really prepare, if this war goes for a long time, to harness more from the western side of our market. And like I said, this is where most of our products are coming from. We don't get products that necessarily travel through this strait. But again, it's a global market you're talking about.
How you talked about preparation to actually withstand the shock. What should we do beyond importing?
Well, I think we are very happy to hear that Tor is back. We are happy to have Centio working. We're happy to have all the local refineries working. I believe just like any country, for example, this war might not necessarily affect Nigeria so much in terms of availability of products because it is a crude oil producing company. IOCs today can say to NNPC and channel all their crude oil to Dangote's refinery. We don't have that capacity yet in this country. We need to emphasize on the fact that local capacity is important. We produce oil, and we believe that as a country, to harness the full value chain of the oil and gas industry, the downstream plays a very critical role. We cannot keep on exporting crude oil as a raw material and import petroleum products as a byproduct into the country where there is demand. COMAC's annual report is coming up, and Abbas can confirm that we 2025 consume 15% extra. In terms of increase in the supply and demand in the country against 2024. It tells you that yes, we are still in the era of ice, and that is a very critical market or industry to also look at.
Should be that the war should end very soon. If it goes on for, say, a month, 4 months, 5 months, what are the likely implications? Considering that the channel has been blocked, just 80% of the world's crude oil will be available to us to also tap in. What ripple effects generally will it put on your importation?
So if this is a question to me, for sure, we price today based on international benchmark prices. Premium are going to increase from today, if not increase already, and that is what I come to kind of emphasize the fact that if prices are going to increase, obviously, even if the CD is stabilized as it is today for the window that we are selling tomorrow or this week, surely we're going to have an increase in the petrol and diesel that we sell in our country, even if there is available product. You see, availability and affordability are treated in economics differently, especially in petroleum economics. You can have the product available, but not affordable. So, like Abbas and I are reiterating today, that most of our supplies do not necessarily come from that angle. It's still going to play a very big role in the international pricing regime. And therefore, if this war does not end in the next 1 week to maximum 2 weeks, we are going to see a hike in the pricing window that will affect our selling window in the next 2 weeks, for sure.
Right. Riverson, stay with us. Let me speak to Collins Adumako, who is the Deputy Ranking on the Energy Committee in Parliament. He's actually a former Deputy Energy Minister also. Grateful to have you here on the probe. Are the stockpile volumes announced by the National Petroleum Authority, just as we heard from Abbas there, 7 weeks plus, enough for the country?
Well, good evening and good evening to my friends on the panel. Listening to the technical people, and they are the technical people. I'm trying to plan how I'm going to explain that to my constituents. That by and large, the conclusion I get from all the technical explanations that at the end of the day, it's likely that we are going to have some increases in prices at the pump, which is what is really, really important to the ordinary Ghanaian. I'm a little bit comforted by the fact that Abbas explains that as of now we have about 7 weeks. I'm not too sure whether 7 weeks is enough, especially with the continuous rhetoric from the powers that be. That is where the issues are coming from. I'm just reading on Fox News that some 5 or 7 ships have also been sunk by the Americans, and that sent some shivers down my spine. I'm sure by now NPA, Abbas and his people are having some very serious meetings as to how they are going to confront these issues. But obviously 7 weeks, a little bit comforting, but I'm not too sure if the war continues, this 7 weeks is going to be enough. I'm happy that where we get our source from is not through much more from the Middle East.
Right.
And so that is a little bit comforting. But bottom line is that what is happening in the Middle East is going to have effects on prices, which is what is important to my constituents, and I'm sure to the general public. And so, as Abbas said, it's likely that in the next window we are going to experience some increases, and that is where I have a challenge.
Right. And what more will the Energy Committee be interested in ensuring that we're able to mitigate the impact, like in price at the pump, for instance? What would you be putting forward for the government to consider?
Well, my chairman has just intimated to me that it's likely we are going to have an emergency meeting with the power players, with the players in the industry. NPA, I'm sure, is going to be summoned by Tuesday or Wednesday to come and meet the committee alongside the Ministry of Energy to come and explain to us what this whole war means to us. And the question you put to me, I'm sure I'm going to put the same question to them when they come to us. They are the technical people. They should explain to us what the implications are, although we have a fair idea that is going to lead to some price increases. This brings to the fore the issue about Tor, and I'm excited that Tor is now running. I mean, not at a full capacity, but it has started some operations. We have to have a very serious policy discussion with oil producers. We produce oil now in Ghana. What do we do in situations like this? Can we, as a matter of urgency, have a meeting with them to see whether we can quickly refine quite a number of it here in Ghana so we can be assured of some supply? These are all policy direction that must be taken by the ministry. But as I said, it's likely we are going to have a meeting with officials of NPA and the Ministry of Energy on Wednesday for them to throw more light on it for us.
Well, what does this also mean from policy perspective? The fact that the country has relied heavily on, fuel instead of renewable sources like solar, wind, and all of that. What do we have to do as a nation going forward, especially since the geopolitics situation appears to be moving too fast, so that we don't get our energy security threatened?
I think government in the last 2 budgets that they read have continued with the renewable energy policy or direction that the previous government started. We've decided that by 2070, we're going to do a lot more green, as they put it. And by 2030, we think we have to do about 10% of the energy mix in renewables. It's a tall order, but I believe that with a focus on investment, we'll be able to achieve that. I visited Bui in the company of other members of the Energy Committee, and I was impressed with the floating solar system that they have, which is quite remarkable. I know there are a few solar projects up north. I think situations like this must help government to redirect their attention more and invest more in areas such as solar.
And you make policy in Parliament. Of course, this, like you said, is going to have some impact on the pocket of ordinary consumers, for instance, in your constituency. You will be looking forward to government doing something immediately to ensure that the impact could be minimized. What would that be?
Well, I'm not too sure I can second guess what is going to happen by government, what is going to happen by government at this particular point in time. But I think,
what do you expect them to be doing at this moment? The fact that the technical people are giving us signals that we could be paying more if the war persists. Like Riverson said, if it even goes beyond 2 weeks, the impact will be heavy on us here. So you are an expert, more or less, in the area. What would you want to say to government on
I'm
this?
I'm not too sure if my description as an expert is perfect at this particular point in time.
That's okay.
But I think at this particular point in time, what I expect government to be doing, and I'm sure by now some discussions are going on, is for an emergency meeting to be held. I'm sure NPA by now will be giving briefings to the Minister of Energy on the implications of all that is going on. We all know what goes into the price build-up. Government plays a role with our taxes and some levies that are part of the pump price. I'm sure if it continues like that, government must take a very bold decision at this particular point in time to see how best they can cushion the consumers. Don't forget that the increases in the crude oil price also have some positive effects on us as a country, because we are an oil-producing country. What that means is that when you are going to sell, you're also going to make more revenue. Government must, I think, situate the increased revenue that will be coming in as a result of the increase in the prices as against the costs that consumers are going to incur. And I'm sure at that particular point in time, government will come to a compromise.
Right. So let me bring in Abbas Ibrahim then, because he is with the EPA, NPA, and I believe there are certain steps you are taking to ensure that you're able to minimize the impact on the ordinary consumer. What is the NPA's plan going forward if this war persists for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Yes, so clearly you can hear from every speaker this evening that the concern is really whether we are going to have fuel available. So energy security availability is top-notch when it comes to these times. Let's remember that this is not the first time that the world has had to face such a risk. Just 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, when Russia attacked Ukraine, you all remember this threat came up again. And the resulting issue was that prices rose sharply because of the fact that supply is reduced. And so the focus for us right now is to look more about availability. And once there's availability, we prefer to have the product available and pay the right price than to have the product run out of stock and then we are struggling to have the product to buy. So like I've said, we have products in tank, we have scheduled imports. Now this brings to fore the relevance of domestic production. Like I said, we are very fortunate to have one of our local refineries currently producing. CNTU meets about 30% of our national demand. And so it's significant. With Thor completing its turnaround maintenance and expected to come on stream very soon to full production very soon. Between Thor and CNTU, they can meet around 50% of our demand. So that's significant. Let's also remember that, Dangote, that previously mentioned, Dangote, Nigeria is not going to really face this problem as we are going to face, or other countries will face because of Dangote. But the luck for us also is that Dangote is also very close to us. If a trader buys products from Dangote, the ship doesn't have to go through the Strait of Hormuz before it gets to Ghana. It's a very short travel to Ghana, and therefore the advantage of having more refineries in the sub-region producing is very, very good for us. So we are fortunate already. We have had Dangote products come into the Ghana market, and you know that once the Strait of Hormuz or the shipping lines are becoming difficult to move, then it means that they'll be looking at the nearest market. So we are definitely going to benefit from Dangote producing. So in terms of availability, I think consumers should rest assured. Consumers should rest assured that Ghana will not run out of product. Like I said, we faced this before. We were able to ensure that products were available at all times, and NPA will continue to play that role. Product availability is top of our priorities before we even look at the pricing. So once the product is available, then we can now look at ensuring that consumers are paying the right price. And I think you asked the earlier question, how this is going to affect the window that we've just started today. Fortunately for us, we have a pricing structure that we use in Ghana. And so all the products we have in tank today have already been priced. They've already been delivered. What we are looking at is how this is going to affect our next window, which starts from the 16th of March. And so for the current window, this war, in as much as the deregulated market is a free market and everyone will be concerned, it will be priced in, but not in this current window. This current window's numbers are already known. So the products are already in tank. We already know that. So there should be no fears that immediately in this coming week or the next week, the price will rise sharply because of the war. But we are definitely going to feel the impact in the second window of March. We start from the 16th of March. So we will continue to monitor the situation. We are in a deregulated market. Government is not subsidizing petroleum products. So we will pay the right price for fuel, but NP will ensure that consumers the price build-up is used appropriately and not that like Duncan said earlier, a marketer or an importer will decide that because of this war and I already have products, I will immediately increase my prices beyond what we know it should be. So we'll continue to monitor the market and ensure that the products are available for consumers.
And is that an assurance that if things escalate, the price we're paying for fuel now will be saved until the next pricing window? Is that the assurance you're giving?
Yes, so what I'm saying is that there's a new window that started today. Even without the war, we expected some price increases in this window. Mm-hmm. Remember, I mentioned that for the past 2 months of this year, because of the expectation that this war was going to happen, the price risk had already been priced into the market. So we've seen prices rising for some time now. And that's how come for this current window, first window of March, we already expected prices to rise by a certain percentage. So that will happen for this window. But what I'm saying is that the war that has just happened yesterday and today, the impact we are going to see will not be felt in this immediate window. It will be felt in the second window of March because we use a certain price formula which shows what prices go into the buildup. And so for the prices that are going into this buildup for first window of March, we already know them. And so we'll feel the impact more in the second window of March. And that's why we all hope that this war does not prolong beyond a maximum two weeks. If that happens, we are going to be seeing prices continue to rise.
And concerns about diversifying energy sources. Is the EPA considering other sources apart from what we currently have?
So let me say that the NPA is the regulator for the petroleum downstream industry.
Right.
And so for issues about other sources of fuel, I think we have other regulators who regulate those other sources. We have the EVs, we have the solar and all that. So the Ministry of Energy at the policy level has its plan to ensure that. That's how come I believe the government has added a green transition to the ministry's role mandate. And therefore, the Ministry of Energy, together with the other regulatory agencies in charge of these other alternative fuels, will make sure that the country is well diversified in terms of our energy resources. But we as NPA, our name is National Petroleum Authority. So for petroleum products that we need, we will ensure that we have it to meet our demand.
Some concerns are also being expressed by consumers that OMCs could take advantage of the situation and serve the public with adulterated fuel, especially when the situation gets worse. What measures will the NPA put in place to protect consumers that what we get on the market is actually what we are paying for?
So I would like to assure consumers that the fact that this war is happening and we're going to tighten the market is not going to affect the quality of fuel you get. The NPA has a very robust system of ensuring that the fuel we buy is of the highest quality and is meeting the standard. And so this is in no way going to affect the quality of fuel we have. I would mention that we have, before the product first of all enters the market, we have a system that will ensure that it has met our standard. When the product enters our market, we also have a process that ensures that we monitor the product from the depot all the way to the retail outlet using our fuel marking program. And so consumers should not be concerned about the fact that this is going to lead to adulterated fuel. We are going to ensure as a regulator that the consumer gets value for money when it comes to the quality of fuel that they are purchasing. So we should not be in any way be scared. The regulator is here to protect the consumer in as much as it ensures that the importers also are able to bring the fuel and recover their cost. Well,
finally, before I let you go, as the situation stands now, are there any alternative procurement arrangement just in case our regular channels also get compromised?
So I would not make an assurance that there's any alternative arrangement. What we do is we monitor the situation on a daily basis. Like I told you, we already have an import plan into the country. Vessels have already been confirmed for delivery for Ghana. We have about 4 vessels at anchorage as I speak who are waiting to discharge. And I've mentioned Dangote as a nearby source of product. So definitely we are going to be having discussions with our importers regarding the source of the procurement of the products that they bring into the country. Remember, I mentioned that in Russia, in 2022, when Russia attacked Ukraine, we had the same issue. The NP worked with the industry, the BDCs, to ensure that the products are always available. What we are likely to definitely face is the increase in the price. But for availability, be rest assured that Ghana is not going to shortfall.
Thank you so much. Let me bring in Reverend Opon. And then you heard the NPA, they're giving us assurance that they're really going to be monitoring the space to ensure that what consumers actually get is what they are paying for. From your part as OMCs, how do you plan to ensure that consumers actually get what they really are paying for with the concerns regarding the Iran war and the fact that about 20% of supply will no more be entering into where you pick your product from?
Yeah, that's okay. in all these conversations, it's very clear, and one thing is very clear today. It could be about price, it could be about quality, like you mentioned, like you asked about just right now. It is clear that what impact we foresee in our country will not necessarily be fuel availability, because indeed the source of fuel to Ghana and the secondary options, like Dangote mentioned a couple of times here, could help us solve the problem of availability. The issue here is how much the product will cost in the market, because remember, whether you pick it from Dangote or even Tema Oil Refinery or Centio, you're still going to pay in accordance to the international benchmark prices. The good part of the whole equation is that picking product from local market brings it to an FOB regime. So premiums are not so hefty as compared to now, importing the product and even paying for freight. For our side, with the oil marketing companies and even the LPG marketing companies, we depend solely on the traders and the BDCs who are important. And this is also under the umbrella of MPA, who, like Abbas said, are monitoring the systems to make sure that fuel are available. It is indeed true. From December till now, Ghana in history has recorded the highest, if not at the moment, one of the highest trade lines in terms of tankers that are parked at the anchorage, waiting patiently to be discharged into the market. And that has happened for the past 3 months from December, like I mentioned. So indeed, the interest of traders to do business in Ghana has grown with the highest point of multiplicator. And we hope that this will not stop, so that availability as a case scenario will not be a problem for the country.
All right.
But believe me, you and I will not have so much to do with affordability. And like I said, oil marketing companies will surely pass through every cost that we incur by purchasing at SREF with taxes and levies and pass it on to the consumers.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on The Probe. And of course, we are learning that, availability will not be an issue, but cost is what we should be thinking about. Duncan, before I let you go, what would you expect the government to be doing at this point in time? Because that is the concern of every consumer right now, to ensure that at least they're able to minimize the impact on our pockets.
The truth of all of this discussion is that none of the pundits is dispute that Ghana would definitely...
Duncan, you may have to reposition yourself a bit so we can hear you clearly.
Okay, so what I was saying is this. We may not be insulated from any price surges that could arise from what you are seeing between Iran, Israel and the United States. It is also simply because we've not been able to plan. The buffers that you and I could have fallen on, we don't have them. And so whilst looking at assurances, whilst looking at the fact that, of course, the product will be available, but it will come at the cost of what the international market delivers. If you heard Dr. Opon say that they would have to pass through every cost that they definitely incur in the procuring and distribution and sale of the petroleum product. We've not been able to plan as a country, I'm afraid. You could hear Abbas try to put numbers together to suggest that Central is delivering numbers. If you add TOR, you could be doing about 50% of market. What I can put on record is that they are not doing that much. So most of what you consume now simply imports. Again, you also have a bulk oil storage and transportation, which I said earlier has clearly lost focus, over the years. We didn't set both up in 93, thinking that we were probably going to have a trading arm. We were looking for an oil storage facility that also develops a transportation infrastructure to move products across the country. Along the line, it becomes a trading hub where they buy and sell, and the justification is that they need to keep the place busy and running. So as I speak with you, the 7-week cover that you have, you don't have 1 liter belonging to the people of Ghana. And so when I said earlier that private capital would invariably determine how much you pay for fuel, I was quite sure that you don't have a BDC going to bring product, paying very high premiums, only to be told that prices are already fixed for the window, so you cannot go up. I have seen within windows where prices go up or they come down. So that possibility exists. Let us start planning. Let's get our strategy right. An oil-producing country like Dr. Opon said, you would export everything you produce, your lifting. That should have come straight to your refinery to be processed for local consumption. It's also exported. Then we go back to the ARA region.
Duncan, I'm afraid we due to time,
we need to get our strategy right.
We may have to leave it here. Duncan Amoah is the Executive Director of COPEC, and he's been speaking to us here on the probe, as well as Collins Adomako Mensah, a former Deputy Minister of Energy and now the Deputy Ranking Member on the Energy Committee of Parliament. And then we've also been speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of the OMCs, Reverend Opon, here on the probe, as well as Abbas Ibrahim Tasunti. He is the Director of Economic Regulation and Planning at the National Petroleum Authority. And we've been discussing the possible impact of the war in Iran and how that could affect Ghana's energy security. My name is Carlos Calony. You've been listening to us also on Joy 99.7 FM. Catch us next week, same time, here on the probe. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.